Greetings, brothers. Ervin here, and today we're going over my tips and tricks for improving at Space Marine 2. With a new game comes many little tricks you pick up while playing, and not so much in the tutorial. So, I'll be going over my most basic helpful tips to the most obscure ones in an attempt to most likely teach you at least one new trick along the way. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with a pretty basic tip. I've been having people ask me how I teleport around the battle barge pretty often on stream. So, for those that still don't know how to do this, press tab and you can teleport between the mission staging area and the armory, saving you some not so insignificant amount of time going back and forth as you play through the levels. Next, let's talk about regaining your maximum health. Normally, an attack would restore your contested health, and you wouldn't be able to get any more than that back. But weapons with the piercing projectiles that hit many enemies, such as the las fusel and melta weapons, seem to be bugged and can heal the amount of contested health per enemy hit with the projectile, allowing them to fully heal off of swarms. Considering these are already some of the best weapons in the game, this trick sends them over the top and makes them legendary status, allowing you to get full health off of any major horde of enemies in the blink of an eye. Passives like instant health near the end of the Las Fusel tree also contribute to this, regaining the 5% health per enemy hit with the projectile that triggers the effect for some massive health regeneration out of seemingly nowhere when killing 3 or more enemies in rapid succession, while below that 30% maximum health threshold. And the effect even seems to linger once you've left that health threshold. Now, all of this will likely be patched out, so let's talk about some other forms of healing. Heavies should consider the team up perk that allows them to revive squad mates at full health. Bulwarks on your team can also use their banner with a level 23 invigorating icon passive to give the entire squad within the banner their maximum contested health. By comboing this with an executable enemy on standby near this banner, you can potentially get back any of your battle brothers to full HP. And just in case I haven't directly mentioned this, returning to full health after being knocked down and revived will clear your mortal wound, allowing you to once again be downed. Make sure to fight within the banner of your bulwark when possible, as it gives you rapid armor regeneration, and you can even be used to revive you instantly should you fall with a rejuvenating effect passive. Lastly, a non class related way to utilize stims. You don't get many of these throughout a run, but what you should keep in mind is if you still have your down state available after being revived, you have enough health to pop 2 stims and recover from the wound. Meaning, unless you are pushed into a high stress situation, you should hold on to your stims due to their scarcity in case you're knocked down so that you can instantly recover to full health and clear the wound. For my next tip, be sure to not rush your missions too hard and check every nook and cranny around the operations. Armory data, a material required to upgrade weapon tiers that can also be used to instantly master lower tier weapons, can appear in many different locations off the beaten path. Alongside the Gene Seed, an item that vastly increases your squad's experience gained should you survive the rest of the operation by a whopping 50%, as well as the Guardian Relics, which will let you restore yourself from the down state when your team needs you to stand and fight most to swing the tide of battle away from a grisly defeat. This item isn't limited to one within a level either, as we found multiple within a single operation. So keep an eye out for these additional resources and game changing extra lives, especially on those higher difficulties. Now, I've seen some folks getting stuck on their progression around the mid game, and basically what it comes down to is in order to progress beyond those first 2 tiers into the artifact tier, you are going to need to play your first substantial difficulty operation with just green equipment, as this is the only difficulty that will drop the artifact armory data that you need to progress into the tier. This is also going to be the same case for progressing into the relic tier, where you'll need to use purple weapons at first. While this may seem a bit daunting and the enemies will feel spongy that first go around into these difficulties, I can promise you it's more than possible. And if all else fails, you can always cave to the tried and true method, sweeping the internet of rolling past everything and only taking mandatory fights. Personally, I feel this is heresy and not really reflective of the Space Marine spirit, but I won't blame you for doing this to get your foot in the door when it comes to your first armory data upgrades, should you feel it is necessary. A more basic tip mixed in here: the Tyranids are controlled by a hive mind, and therefore destroying their leadership figures, such as their warriors near their smaller Hormagaunts and Termagaunts, will cause an explosive psychic wave, instantly destroying the majority of the Minoris threats littered around that warrior. This interaction is one of the factors that makes the sniper particularly useful during Tyranid missions. As the classes popping their heads from a stealth position, this can end entire encounters before they've even had a chance to begin. When it comes to the other classes, picking up some crack grenades to destroy a Majoris and break the chain of command during a pinch can be especially beneficial. Or otherwise, just making sure to single out and execute a warrior within a swarm for some S tier horde clear, the likes of which only the Melta would be able to match. There is unfortunately no such trick when fighting against the Chaos, and one of the biggest contributing factors as to why I feel the faction is particularly more dangerous to go up against with their significantly sturdier Minoris threats. Now let's talk a bit about consumables. As I did mention the crack grenades, you'll find a whole host of grenades throughout your operations, but which ones should you be picking up and when should you be using them? First, I want to say don't be afraid to throw a frag grenade at your teammate within a swarm. While using grenades is the only form of friendly fire damage in the game at the moment, Space Marines care very little about a bit of shrapnel. The frag will do barely any damage to your teammate with a modest staggering effect and clear the horde in its entirety around them for some great consumable value. In the same vein as this, don't be afraid to drop a frag nearby if you're being swarmed. The shock grenade is a similar use case, causing pretty modest amounts of friendly fire damage. But the crack grenades and the melt a bomb, you need to be much more careful with those. Crack grenades do massive amounts of damage to enemy Majoris, Extremis, and even Terminus level threats, so landing one near a teammate will cause them an equally massive amount of harm. Although the explosive radius is very small, making it pretty easy to avoid this scenario, take these grenades and use them on any key Majoris or Extremis threats during the operation, or save them for the boss battle at the end should you be heading for one, as they can have a huge impact on the fight, especially coupled with the tactical's Auspex scan, boosting the damage by 200%. Melt-a-bombs are like crack grenades, except they have a wide radius and, importantly, drop at your feet when deployed and are not thrown. Then they must be detonated by holding your grenade bind. Make sure no friendlies, or you, are within this radius, or you will be scooping them off the floor while apologizing shortly after. Same use case as the crack grenades. Use these for the big threats. But you can also use them for some massive horde clear if necessary, something that is particularly useful to keep in mind when you're playing through your trials for your class. Something I missed for quite a while when I began grinding the operations after skipping the campaign: if you get confused on where to go, pressing tab will show you an indicator of where to go next, as well as the inventory of your squad mates. If you didn't know this yet, you now know why everyone seemed to know exactly where to go despite it being day one of early access. If you found this video helpful, and only if I did give you some good advice, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, as I'll be putting out more content in the same vein as this very soon, such as in-depth class guides and weapon analysis, as well as covering major patches and updates to the game. My Discord, the Ghost Divers, also has a full section dedicated to Warhammer and by proxy Space Marine 2, where you can find teammates to squad up with within my community, so feel free to hop in there if you, like me, are averse to the quick play button. Thanks for watching till the end, and have yourselves a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.